Well, hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Johnny and you're watching Hillbilly Modeling. This is going to be part 6, I think, on our Russian heavy tank JS-2 model 1944 by Tamiya. And in our last video, we stopped short of doing our hairspray chipping. Just wasn't enough time for that. I gave this... I have given this, I should say, about 3 hours to dry because it was looking like it was just going to all peel completely off. So we're going to try to pick up right there where we left off and see what our what we can accomplish with our hairspray chipping, or if it's going to be a total disaster, which is okay. I mean, if this hairspray chipping doesn't work out, we'll just be very careful. Then we'll just seal it and just do some sponge chipping on it. So either way, we're going to get this done. So, so let's jump down to the bench here and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to start our hairspray chipping here. So I do have a thick stenciling brush there, just in case I need it. A little stubby brush, it's cut down, and then a longer brush there to apply our water. Hopefully this hairspray chipping works for us. Of course, we have to have some water and a napkin or a piece of a paper towel, whatever you have handy there, to get rid of the excess or any chips that might come off and be on your brush or whatever you're going to use to do your chipping with there. So with that all laid out, we're going to go ahead and... So the ideal here is that the water reactivates the hairspray, which is underneath the paint, and then we can chip that off. And I can already see that maybe the paint's trying to float on us a little bit. So I'm just going to use a toothpick here, or a cocktail stick. Oh, and you can see right there, that's a big chip. So it's not really what we want to have happen. I feel maybe we have used too much hairspray, or the wrong hairspray, either way. I've had decent results before with that Tresemme hairspray that we used on this kit, but here I think maybe I've just laid it down too thick. So I'm just going to use a cocktail stick there and do a little bit of chipping with it. Just wet the cocktail stick and... it really works out for you. So here on the corner, I just use the water there. And if you can see it there, it kind of looks like it's bubbling up. Which that kind of indicates it wants to come off maybe in a sheet. And we really don't want it to do that. So I'm going to stick with the stick, the toothpick here, and you can see it's kind of moving around a little bit there, which is not what we want. So we're going to have to approach this a bit differently. I think I'll just use the toothpick and just wet the toothpick and just work at it in little bitty sections and spots, and that seems to be working out pretty good for me here. So this is around the loader's hatch. As you can imagine, that white strip right there from the loader loading ammunition and equipment being loaded into the turret, yeah, that would probably get scratched up and chipped up pretty good. So we just want to break up the uniformity also along the edges of our identification stripes here, and put a few little chips there wherever. And as you can see here, these are the little chips that we've got all over it there. Now, it doesn't take very long to actually do this. And like I say, I'm pretty sure we have too much hairspray on there. So we're not going to do it the traditional way with a soft brush, because that would just cause our paint to peel off. So we're going to let everything dry completely. And then we're going to seal all that in with the X22. That'll keep the hairspray from being reactivated later on. So now going to our instructions, these are the decals or decals, if you prefer, that we're going to do. We're going to do that version of the tank there. And as you can see, of course, we left some spots there in our white markings there for these decals. So we're going to need some water, and we have our micro set and micro saw, which will come in handy here in applying our decals, making sure that they, number one, stick to the model, and number two, that they lay down like they're supposed to. And also, I like to use a different brush for each of those solutions. So, I mean, that's just me. You can do whatever you prefer. I just don't like to mix, contaminate, those type of things. So when you cut your decals out, there's going to be an identifying number with them. I like to trim those off. That way they don't get stuck underneath the decal when we go to slide it off onto the model. So since these are water slide decals, we have some lukewarm water here, and I'm just going to suspend it in the water there for a few seconds, usually 15 to 20 seconds, and then check and see if it's going to move for you. In the meantime, we can go ahead and lay down a little bit of this micro set, and that really helps the adhesion of the decal to the model surface. And since we did spray it with the X22 clear gloss, that's going to kind of beat up on us a little bit, so I'll show you how I do that. So I'm just checking it there, see if it's ready to move. Not quite ready yet. We don't want to over soak it, so I think probably the best thing to do is just to get rid of a little bit of the excess water there, lay it down on the paper towel, and let it continue to work and loosen that the glue that holds it to the paper there. So as you can see here, like I was saying, the X22, since it's a clear gloss, it really it doesn't allow, it makes the micro set bead up. So we're just going to put a bunch of dots there, because if you start to connect the dots, they all run together and you're not really covering the area. So here we go. This is a water slide decal. So I've checked it and it will move. And I'm just going to use my tweezers here. And be careful not to tear anything. And we'll just get it moved into place. Now, if for some reason the decal doesn't want to slide, you can either add a little bit of micro set around the edge or a little bit of water, either way. And that'll help you slide it around into position. So I'm just dabbing off the excess and kind of let it soak out from underneath the decal so that it'll get down close to the surface. We'll give that a few seconds there. And then we can start cleaning it up a little bit there. So next up, we're just going to carefully roll our cotton bud across it. Oh yeah, I didn't say that I had cotton buds laid out, did I? But yeah, you can use a piece of paper towel or something to do the exact same thing. Just kind of blot it off. Here I am using my tweezers to kind of size up whether or not I am center with the decal on the front of the vehicle, and it doesn't want to lay down. There's a rib that runs across the front there, probably for shot deflection. Deflection? Is that what I said? Deflection. So we're going to soften up that decal and let that work for a minute or two, and then we can start pressing it down and help that decal form around that little rib that runs there. Actually runs through all of our numbers there. Now I do have some fluid trapped up underneath it there, so I'm going to use a pin here just to make a little hole, and then we'll press on it again, and that fluid should just come right up out of there. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it does. It comes right up out of that little bitty hole there. That way we don't have any voids underneath our decal, and slightly pressing it down. So I couldn't resist putting the turret on just to see how everything's coming together here. And so we're looking really good, I think. Now we need to let these decals dry completely, so give them a good 4 or 5 hours. before going on to the next step. And that next step is going to be to seal those decals in, just like we sealed in our hairspray chipping, which, well, we know how that worked out. So after we allow that to dry completely, with all of our decals sealed in, we can go ahead and start some panel liner here. And I like to thin my panel liner out with some enamel thinner because this is an enamel based product. It just seems like the thinner it is, the better it flows. And of course that gloss clear that we put on the model really helps with the flow. And as you can see here, we're just using that to kind of accent all of our little grooves and seams and bolts and hinges, pretty much any of the details on the tank. And this kind of provides us with a little bit of an outline that really helps bring those items out. Makes them stand out a little bit more so that they are a little bit more noticeable. Now, of course, we're going to have some little splotchy areas or something that didn't turn out so good. So since this panel liner is an enamel product, we can clean that up with some enamel thinner. And as you can see there, I've got spots and blotches and stuff all over the place there. So we're going to come in with a cotton bud here. And the cotton bud that I'm using is a little pointed one. Now, it's actually for women to remove makeup. I know, who would have thought, right? But they work really good, and they're not quite as fibrous as the regular cotton buds. And by that I mean it doesn't leave a whole lot of the little fibers and strings of cotton behind, which can kind of stick to the paint a little bit, and it can be kind of annoying to clean up to get all those little hairs off of there, and we don't want a hairy tank. So as you can see here, though, it cleans up really good. The X22 that we used on it there, that gloss clear, is really doing its job in allowing us to take care of any of these areas that just need to be cleaned up. So we're just going to go around the tank and clean all of that up. Now, after we get that cleaned up, I do want to go in and try to integrate our decals into the rest of the paint job of the tank, because we do have the hairspray chipping on, and we did prior do the sponge chipping. And I'm just going to use a cocktail stick here to show little bitty dings and scrapes and stuff in our decals, because they just look too perfect, too white, too not chipped. So once we do that, we can go ahead and seal everything in with this matte acrylic Vallejo, and it is water-based, and we'll spray everything with that. And here we're going to use some isopropyl alcohol, which is better known as rubbing alcohol, and just a cotton bud here, and we're going to clean up that paint. We're going to have overspray. Now, you could mask off these axles here for our road wheels and our drive sprockets and everything, but I find it's just as easy to use the isopropyl alcohol and remove that paint. So once we get all that paint removed off of it, and you can also use this on where the turret mates to the hull there, so you don't have any binding. And with that done, we're going to use some X19 here. This is Tamiya's transparent gray. And we're going to go back over our headlight here, kind of give it a little bit of a shine, which is what glass would have. And it's kind of going to dull down that silver paint that we put on there. Since Tamiya doesn't give us a clear lens, we can't do the typical thing, which where you would paint the inside silver, and then you would go back over it. Well, you'd put your clear lens on. So we're just doing the best we can to make it look like a clear lens on there. So I think it looks all right. Okay, we can do a little bit of assembly now, and I'm going to use this Tamiya cement, and this is real glue. So first of all, we're going to tackle our fuel tanks. We can go ahead and put those on. I like to eliminate as many parts as possible as I can. That way, well, number one, I don't lose anything. So we do need to pay attention to the alignment here. And as you can see there, it just goes right on. It does have a peg and pin type arrangement there, so you can't get them on wrong. So I applied the cement to the holes so that when we push it down over the brackets there, it will push the excess cement up inside the part rather than have it, you know, kind of squeeze out. And we don't want squeeze out around our brackets and stuff there. That would not look good. So you got to be very careful and use that cement very sparingly there. So those are two tanks. I just want to make sure that they're pressed down because we didn't scrape any paint or anything away. I think the cement's going to be more than sufficient to hold these on. So now I'm going to switch to some medium CA glue to attach some shackles. And I'm using the CA glue because it takes very little to actually make sure that the part sticks and we're not going to have to worry about it coming off. And then also, if we use just the right amount, we don't have any squeeze out or anything because our shackles, as you can see here, and we did weather these with a little bit of dry brushing on them there so that they would look used. But going back to the CA glue, it keeps us from having, you know, squeeze out. And you don't want to have that because those pins and stuff are really exposed on these shackles. So it's all going to be very visible. So if there's any squeeze out, it should be right on the bottom where it can't be seen. And those look good. Yeah, I like that. So next up, this is something that we used a little bit in our last build, and this is the polished metal modeling pigment from Vallejo. And as you can see, I've already done one set of road wheels here, and I found it easier just to use my finger to apply this. And so you just put a little bit out where you can get to it, and a little bit goes a very long way. So we're just going to rub that right on. And this is the JS-2 or IS-2, whichever way you prefer to identify it, had all steel road wheels. So these contact areas that would be on the road wheels and the outside of the road wheel rim there would get chewed up, dinged up, and kind of shiny. So there we are, and we have several more to do. So I'll just go ahead and get those all done. And once I get them all done, I'm going to come back and buff this a little bit with a piece of paper towel or napkin here. And this is going to remove any excess that's on there that is ready to be rubbed off, you know. And we don't want to be rubbing any of this off and getting it all over our vehicle. So I just want what's going to stay. And that's what it looks like, nice and shiny there, just like raw steel. So that's a nice look, and it's easy to do. And speaking of Vallejo pigments, we're going to be using these rust pigments. Now that comes in a set of 4. These are the 3 of the colors that I have chosen to use on our tracks. So we're going to start weathering and rusting up our tracks here and see what kind of results we can get there. So the first thing we're going to need is a box because I get pretty messy. And then I also have this stenciling brush here. It's got nice thick bristles on it, which will help us kind of scrub these pigments into the that German dark panzer gray that we primed our tracks in. So I'm just going to dump out a little bit of the pigment there of each of these 3 colors, and that'll make it easier for us to access. Whoops, that was a little bit much. So may have to save some of that. But it takes not very much of this pigment here to get the effect that we want. I'm going to start off with the dark rust color here. And I guess that's old rust or whatever it is. Anyway, we're just kind of working it in. And then I'll skip down a shoe or two and then put some more rust in and just move along the track here. And it's easier for me to show you on this top section of the track. And that really adds a little bit of color for us. And you don't have to do every shoe. I mean, we're not painting it. And actually, the splotchier it looks, the better it's going to look. So with the darkest color on, we're going to come in with our medium color that we've selected here. And just go in different spots, different areas. You know, just go with whatever you're feeling here. This is no science whatsoever here. Now, since we do have the flat Vallejo paint on there, and it's not been sealed, there's no any kind of clear coat or anything on that, the rough texture of the paint really helps to hold on to the pigments. And then here we're moving over to the lighter color rust. I think it's new rust. And we're going to do some areas there. And it's the same thing all over again. It's really easy. This is as close to shake and bake as you can get. And just kind of scrub it in. So here's a comparison between the two tracks. The one on the left we've just done, and the one on the right is yet to be done. So that's the kind of effect that we're getting here. And I think it looks pretty good. I think that's going to look really good on our JS-2. So now we have the rest of the track sections to do, and make sure that we don't get them mixed up so we know our left from our right. We need to keep that separated. So here we have some enamel thinner, and I found that this works best with these pigments because it will really help these pigments grab on to that flat Vallejo paint that's underneath it there. So this is kind of like fixing without using a fixer. So, and the reason why we're doing this is because we don't want all these pigments to rub off. Now they still will if you are aggressive with it, but if you are lightly handling it for, say, final assembly or anything else, then it's not going to be an issue. At least that's what I have found. So we're just going to let this enamel thinner soak through, and it will dry. And when it does, the vibrant colors of those pigments are going to come back for us. You can see how it really looks like it's gone at this point. But once it dries, this is the effect that we have. So next up, we're just checking our contact points there for our drive sprocket, where the drive sprocket engages our track, and then where our road wheels are going to engage the track as well. So this is kind of important because we want to show wear marks where the track has been run through the running gear. So we're going to go back to our polishing metal here, pigment. I'm sorry, I think I said Vallejo. That's MIG ammo. MIG ammo. There we go. Now I have these two brushes here that are silicone brushes, I think. I think they're silicone brushes. And it just so happens the flat chisel tip one is just the right width for our road wheels, which is good. Now the silicone will hold on to our pigment, and we're going to use this to simulate the wear pattern on our track shoes where they make contact with the tracks and the road wheels. So there should be two nice little shiny tracks running down on both sides of our guide horns there. And as you can see, it goes on really easy. I mean, you couldn't get any easier than this. And if you need to, you can always wipe this polishing compound off with a one of those cotton buds and a little bit of enamel thinner, and you can take it back off if you make a mistake. So here we're just going to put this on, and as you can see, it goes on very easy, so we don't have anything to worry about there. Now when it comes to the where our drive sprocket engages our track, I'm using the little pointed silicone brush for that, because those little areas there where the track pins go through, that's going to be kind of shiny too. So we'll be able to do all that and get that nice and shiny. And I do like this polishing powder. This is the first time that I've actually used it on tracks, and it's really working well, and it's so easy to do. So we are going to come in, and just like we did on our road wheels, we will polish this in, and I'm just showing you here on this section what we're going to be doing with the rest of all of our tracks. We're going to have to treat all of these, I guess you call them inside surfaces or contact surfaces. Now we don't want to forget our guide horns, because these do go up in between our road wheels, and they are going to be a little shiny on the sides there, because that's what keeps the track from falling off. So we don't want to forget about doing those, because this is going to be visible. And on the JS-2, the tracks and the road wheels are very prominent on this vehicle, so that's going to be a nice little addition there, and it makes it look nice. And you can do the same thing with graphite pencil. I know there's a lot of you guys that use that stuff too. So there we are with the top section done. Now when it comes to our actual track pads or track shoes where they make contact with the road and everything, again, I'm just going to go back to my finger and use that to highlight, I almost forgot what I was going to say, highlight all of the high areas. So those are going to be the cleats there on our track. That's going to be making contact with the road surface, and or dirt roads or gravel roads, or in the fields and over hill, over dale, and all that good stuff. Of course, don't forget about the edges of the tracks too, because as the vehicle runs and turns, that'll all be kind of shiny. Now we can use this same product here on our tow cables, and these the actual cable, it was that string, if you guys remember from our video where we put these together. I'm going to start off using the silicone brush there, but to be honest with you, it's not working as well as I thought it would. So I decided to go ahead and switch over and to use my finger, because it's just easier, and don't use a whole lot, because we don't want this product to be down in the into the spiral twist of the tow cable. We just want to highlight all the high edges of it there. Makes it look more like steel cable, or at least I hope it comes out looking more like steel cable. So yeah, a couple of more passes on that, and that'll clean that, or make that look really good for us. Well, okay, there we are. We got our chipping done. So I think I put way too much hairspray on there, because here on this corner of the turret, when we started to use the brush to put water on it, I don't know how well you could see it in the video, but it really started to bubble up, which meant that the hairspray underneath the paint was absorbing that moisture, and at an alarming rate. So if we'd have hit that with a brush, it would have just peeled right off. So we didn't do that. So we just used a toothpick and did our chipping there. Now I also did chipping around these pistol ports here. those are items that are locked from the inside, but it's a cone and it's attached to a chain, and the crew will push those out where they can either use maybe a submachine gun or a pistol to help defend the tank, and then they can just pull that plug back up. So it would have, probably if the pistol port's out, or the plug is out, I should say, you'd have some little wear marks there. So when you're doing your chipping and stuff, just kind of, you know, look at things like that, because that helps add a little bit of character. So, but I think that turned out really well. Also, our tracks, those turned out really nice. You know, I really like that metal polishing powder there from MIG by Ammo, or Ammo by MIG. I get it right. And you can do the same thing with graphite. And I'm not sure exactly what's in this polishing powder, but it is a little damp feeling. So, and that probably helps with the being able to smooth it and polish it and everything like that. But it is, I think, important to go back and make sure that you remove any excess that you may have on there, because you don't want it falling off and then getting onto, say, the paint job of the tank or the turret or something like that. But once you get it polished down and remove all that excess, it pretty much stays in place. So that's good. So that's pretty much it for this video. Next up, we will be working on some more weathering. We got to do that, and then eventually we got to get around to working on painting figures. I know, that's I'm thinking about that. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but we're going to do something there. So hopefully that all works out for us. So that's it for this video. Special thanks to all my subscribers. It's because of you guys I keep making these videos, and I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, don't forget to give a like. And if you are new to the channel and not a subscriber, I hope today I earned your subscription. So that's it. I hope to see all you guys again next Friday. And until then, you guys stay safe.